All right, I'm here. Twitch.tv/110sports, 110sportsmedia.com/live. Thanks so much, so much for joining us on a Friday. It's the end of the week. And more importantly, man, it's Friday the 13th. Let's get through the day. You know, anytime there's a Friday the 13th on this in this year, you gotta be extremely careful. Yeah? But it's been a good week. The Masters have delivered so far. The scoring conditions have been perfect. And the leaderboard is star-studded. We'll talk about that at the top of the show here. Last night, you had the battle of the best teams in the AFC South. And what I came away with today is the Colts are the best team in the AFC South. And I'm not sure it's all that close. I'll tell you why in about 25 minutes. We'll do the podium. We'll take a look at the slates, both on the college football and, well, you know, the SEC is not playing this weekend pretty much. But the rest of the college football slate, then we'll take a look at the NFL and then get out of here on a Friday. But let's talk about the Masters. So right now, Dustin Johnson. So the way it worked, right? So on Thursday, you had the morning wave and the afternoon wave. And then on Friday, the afternoon wave becomes the morning wave, and the morning wave becomes the afternoon wave, right? So, 3-hour rain delay yesterday morning. Then it cleared up. It's been beautiful ever since. It's beautiful this morning in Augusta, Georgia. But the guys in the early groups were able to finish their rounds, and most players who teed off in the afternoon wave yesterday got through somewhere between 10 and 13 holes. So as a result, those guys were out early this morning finishing their first rounds. Some of the guys in that afternoon wave really took a charge up the leaderboard, and the leaderboard is now littered with those players. But because they started in the afternoon yesterday, their tee times for this morning were in the early wave. So, you know, Justin Thomas finishes his I believe he's 1 over through his second round. So his first round 6 under 66. And then he goes out 30 minutes later to start his second round. So he's already well into his second round. I believe his group is on the 13th hole right now. Your leader right now, Dustin Johnson. If you were here on Wednesday, you know that I picked Dustin Johnson to win. I'm knocking on wood over here, but he's been elite so far. 8 under. He's bogey free. He just birdied from the pine straw on 11 being a 510-yard par 4. And he's got another birdie putt. I'm looking at it right above me. He's got another birdie putt here to go to 9 under. Let's look at the leaderboard real quick. You got some big names here. You got some not so big names here, but you have a lot of people playing well. So like I said, Dustin Johnson, 8 under right now. This birdie putt, he's got about 15 feet at 12. Right in the center of the cup. That's another birdie. So he's now 9 under through just 3 holes of his second round. 2 under through 3, 9 under for the tournament. So he's now 2 shots clear of the rest of the field. Yesterday, Paul Casey went out and shot a 65, a really solid bogey-free 65. He eagled the second hole and then birdieing the 6th, birdieing the 10th, birdieing the 13th, birdieing the 15th and the 16th. Getting those holes on the back 9. You know, you're hoping to birdie 2 and 7 on the front, and you're hoping to birdie 13 and 15 absolutely, and birdie 16. And that's what you got to do on this golf course, is you got to go and attack the par 5s. So if we look at DJ's card from yesterday, eagles the par 5 second, birdies the par 5 8th, birdies the par 3 12th, didn't even birdie 13 yesterday. I guess it would have been this morning actually. but then birdies 15 and then gets a couple more birdies coming in. He might have started on 10 now that I think about it, but he took care of the par fives. Cam Smith, the Australian, at 7 under, along with Sung J M and Paul Casey. If we look at Cam Smith, in round 2, he's 2 under through 4 in the second round. He birdied the par 5 second. In round 1, he birdied the par 5 second. He birdied the par 5 8th. He birdied the par 5 13th. If we look at Paul Casey, we talked about Paul Casey as well. If you look at Sung J M in round 1, birdied 5, birdied number 2, birdied number 8, birdied number 13, actually bogeyed 15. He had a really nice 3-wood from 240 at 15, but he caught it a little thin, a little on the heel, and it came up short. But guys at the top of the leaderboard taking care of the par 5s, and that's how you win this golf tournament. A couple years ago, when Patrick Reed won the 2018 Masters, Reed finished, find the leaderboard here, Reed finished 15 under, and if you look at his scorecard from the final round, he just takes care of the par 5s. That's just what he did at Augusta in 2018. That's what most players do. You know, we talk about it being a second shot golf course. You have to putt well, of course. Got to be, on these undulated greens. Got to miss it in the right spot. And all of those things are true. But all par 3s and all par 4s, most of the time, except for, save maybe 3, the short par 4, and save maybe 16 with the way that green complex works. It's just, there's a lot of funneling that is done, and a lot of guys can get it close on multiple hole locations. That hole was very easy yesterday, and there's some back pin positions that can make it tough for sure. But of course, when we're talking about yesterday's, and then we also of course talk about where they put the pin on Sunday at the bottom of the hill on the left side of the green. You just throw it above the hill, get some spin back, and you're looking at a relatively simple shot that can put you within 6 feet for birdie. But that's the key to this golf course, is playing the par 5s well, and the guys at the top of the leaderboard are playing the par 5s well. Let's talk about a couple standouts on the leaderboard. Bernard Langer, 63-year-old, 5 under. He's 1 under in the second round. He fired 6 birdies en route to a first round 68. That's money, and that's telling you that there's just not. There's a way to get around this golf course that you don't have to be long to do it. I mean, let's talk about Bryson DeChambeau, 2 under yesterday. And really it was an impressive round to get it back to 2 under, so I'm not taking shots at him. But let's talk for a moment, though. Let's talk about, he hit a tee shot on 9. He had like 110 yards left. I saw 4 or 5 guys yesterday that had somewhere between 110 and 125 yards left into that green. I mean, Rahm and his group was only like 11 yards behind him. The point being is that some of these holes that he's really hitting crazy tee shots are holes where the long hitters can do similar things. On 13, he flailed it way out right into the pine straw and the trees. Makes a stupid decision to not just punch out and then flip wedge it, but he gets too aggressive, puts it in the trees, and he double bogeys 13. We talked all week about how Bryson was going to dominate this golf course, and he didn't play the par 5s well. At least not as well as some of these other guys. Now, I take that back. He birdied 3 of the 4, but he was only 1 under on the par 5s. You got that mistake on 13. He bogeys 7. It was just a weird round, and it shows that, he missed several greens with wedges. Like, this is a second shot golf course, and the golf course just isn't long enough for that to matter quite as much as it did at Wingfoot, especially in the rough isn't that big a deal. Because at a place like Wingfoot, if the rough is at a place like Wingfoot, if the rough is as high as it is and as thick as it is, if DeChambeau can hit it and have a wedge in instead of, can have a sand wedge instead of even a pitching wedge or a 9-iron, then that's where it really comes into play, because then you can just hit it as far as you want to. And if the rough is just as penalizing everywhere else on the course, then just hit it as far as you can and then go hack it wherever it is. Here, the rough is not penalizing. And solid iron players are going to be able to hit the shots they want to, especially when the golf course is as soft as it was yesterday. It was pretty soft this morning. It's not supposed to rain. It's supposed to be pretty warm for the rest of the tournament. So I expect the golf course to dry out some, to certainly get a little quicker, for the putts to have those 2-3 feet of extra roll, and Justin Thomas just flip wedge to 13 that looks like it's spun back into the water. He clearly wasn't as sharp today as he was yesterday, which is tough for him. He was 5 under through 10 holes, 6 birdies, and hit some good golf shots today in the first part of his round, but clearly not quite the same, not quite as sharp as he was yesterday. Dustin Johnson, of course, as we talked about, was just as sharp as he was yesterday. 2 under through 3. I just talked about that birdie he made. Dylan Fratelli was impressive in his second round here. He was actually tied for the co-lead after round 1. He's 2 over through his first 2 rounds, through his first 2 holes of the second round. But he played well. Well, you've got these guys, these hallmarks of the top of leaderboards nowadays. You got your Justin Thomases, your Webb Simpsons, Xander Schauffele's, Vanderbilt senior and amateur John Augenstein carded a 3 under 69 in the first round. Through 5 holes of the second round, he's 1 under. He's parred everything, and then he birdied 13. That's how you win this golf tournament. And I don't think John Augenstein is going to win this golf tournament, but he's plotting it around the way that you're supposed to plot it around. He didn't birdie 2, but he birdied 8, and he eagled 13. 3 under on the par 5s. That's how you get it done on this golf course. Schauffele's there at 5 under. Phil Mickelson, 4 under. Cameron Champ, 4 under. Matsuyama, Oosthuizen, Westwood, Reed, and Woods, Tiger Woods, all at 4 under. Tiger played one of the cleanest rounds of golf I've seen him play in quite a while, to be honest with you. He started on 10. He sort of pulled his tee shot left, and not his tee shot, excuse me, his second shot left, got up and down, and then was pretty much lights out the rest of the way. Didn't actually, and that's without birdieing either par 5 on the front in his second 9 of the day, but he birdied 13, he birdied 15, he birdied 16. In case you were curious, he birdied all 3 of those holes en route to winning on Sunday last year. Not that means a whole lot in the first round in 2020, but taking care of those gettable holes on the back 9. If you play the back 9 and 3 under every time you play it, and you get through 10, 11, 12, you birdie 13, you birdie 15, you birdie something, you birdie 3 of the last 6 holes somewhere in there. 14 is certainly, the only hole in the golf course without a bunker. It's certainly doable. And that's the key to it. But birdie those par 5s, man. That's where, and when you can take dead aim, Paul Casey was talking about it after his round, that you can just hit some shots on this course in November and with the soft conditions that you can't hit in April. Like when the pin is back left on the par 5 second, and you can hit this sort of high draw that lands right next to the pin, and it won't shoot over the green. He was talking about how that shot was sticking. I can't remember who it was, but the par 3, I believe it's the par 3 fourth, is playing 247 yards today or something silly like that. And somebody hit a 3-wood from 247, and it stuck, just like stuck in the ground. And that's the kind of golf course we have right now. I hope it gets it dries out a little bit, but you have at this point You have 51 players under par at this point, including Mike Weir, including Scotty Scheffler is there, Colin Morikawa and Matt Wolff, both at 1 under, both +1 on their second round so far. But you have Day, Kuchar, DeChambeau, Leishman, Cantlay, Horschel, Finau, and Rahm, both at 3 under. John Rahm was striping the golf ball, and especially on his second 9 yesterday. He eagled 2, he birdied 3, birdied 13, birdied 15. He started bogey, finished with the 69, was striping it in the second round. He will go off at 1:08 Central Time off. I don't know if it'll be off the first tee or the 10th tee, but he was striping it in the second round, striping it to the point where I threw a couple bucks on him because he was absolutely piping it, was hitting quality golf shots over and over and over and over again. But it's been a great first round. We're into did I mention Phil Mickelson? Phil, who everybody and their mother bet on to miss the cut, he's 1 under through his first 5 holes of his second round. 69, and it could have been a 68. He had a beautiful bunker shot on 18 to end his round this morning, and then missed the putt. But 3 under for Phil, and this tournament is better when Phil and Tiger are playing well, and both of them are in good spots. Phil and Tiger both 4 under. Wouldn't that be something if we got a Tiger Phil Saturday pairing, especially if they're both 6 under. But the way DJ is playing, somebody's gonna have to play really, really well to beat him the way that it's looking right now. When you look at the top of the leaderboard, and part of this is because these guys have gone back out for their second rounds, but it's DJ at 9 under. And then we're talking about Paul Casey, Cam Smith, and Dylan Fratelli. No offense to any of those players. They're all very good players, but not exactly. I mean, Paul Casey is the guy who can't get it done on Sundays at majors. And Cam Smith and Dylan Fratelli just haven't proven they can do that. Right. Then you have Sungjae Im, former Rookie of the Year, Abraham Answer, Bernard Longer. Of course, Bernard is capable of winning Masters. That's why he's still playing in the Masters. But then you get to these guys who haven't teed off quite yet. Your Webb Simpsons, Xander Schauffele's, JT is now 2 over on the day. But your Matsuyamas, your Oosthuizens, your Westwoods, your Reeds, your Woods. Ricky Fowler 1 under through his first 6 holes today. He's 3 under for the tournament. Good to see him playing well. Justin Rose turned in a really nice first round. He's 2 over through 2 though, but he played really well today. Played really well in the first round, and hopefully continues that trend in the second round as well. But a lot of good golfers up at the top of this at the top of the leaderboard. Some of the more surprising struggles, I guess. And McIlroy is a +1. He's -2 through his first 3 holes. Hopefully he can make the cut. I want to give a shout out to Andy Ogletree, the amateur from Georgia Tech, who won the 2019 USAM at Pinehurst number 2. But he started bogey, par, double, and then a bogey. 4 over through 5. But then he finished 1 under on that 9 the rest of the way with a birdie at 15. Bogeyed 1, but then went birdie at 2, birdie at 4, bogeyed 5, but then went birdie at 6 and birdie at 8 to finish his round at just 1 over. That's a really solid round. I don't know if he'll actually end up making the cut. The cut right now is top 50 and ties. Top 50 and ties right now is at 1 under. Right now, T51 is even par. So it looks like the cut is going to be around somewhere between -1, between even and -1, somewhere around there, even maybe a shot under. Depends on the golf course plays today. The more it depends how the golf course plays today, the more dried out it gets. Does it get any tougher? I don't know what the winds are supposed to look like today. They haven't been as they've been tame. They haven't been a factor so far, but that's where we are at the Masters right now. Real quick, and I believe I just saw Dustin Johnson hit another really nice shot at number 5. His second shot from 5-10. It looks like he laid up. Yep. So he laid up with his second shot to a nice layup area. And that's something that DJ's been good at. DJ is now capable of... He's been capable, and since he became the best player in the world, and he's one of the... And I think right now he's first in the official world golf rankings with the great play he had at the FedEx Cup playoffs. His wedge game is incredible, and when he does something like sprays a drive a little offline on a par 5, he's confident enough and putting that ball 80 yards from the green and then taking a shot at making birdie the old-fashioned way. Looks like taking a look at his wedge shot from a couple minutes ago, and he's going to have 6 or so feet for yet another birdie to get to -10. We'll keep an eye on that as the show goes on. But that's where we are with the Masters. It's been great. It really is one of my favorite events of the entire sports year, and the fact that we get 2 of them in 6 months is pretty awesome. But we'll keep an eye on that as we move throughout the show here. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the AFC South. The Colts, they put the Titans to bed last night. They put them to bed in a big way, and we'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes. That'll be after the break. You're watching The JMULL Show, 110sportsmedia.com. Welcome back to the JMULL Show on a Friday. Twitch.tv/110sports, 110sportsmedia.com. Thank you so much for joining us on a Friday. Since we last spoke 3 minutes ago, Dustin Johnson has not hit that putt for birdie at the par 5 13th. I'll let you know if he makes it because I'm watching. It's right here above my head on the screen here. But as we talk about what happened in the AFC East last night, South, the AFC South last night, I'll keep an eye on it and we'll talk about it if we need to. But Dustin Johnson leading the Masters -9 right now. The Colts and the Titans, they played last night. It wasn't pretty for one team. And now this division is tied at 6-3. The Colts, of course, holding the head-to-head at this point in the season. Listen, and they play again in 2 weeks. You go to Indy on November 29th, right after Thanksgiving. The Colts have lost to the Jaguars and the Browns. The Jaguars and the Browns. This is part of what's so infuriating about the Colts, because here's where it landed after last night. The Colts are the best team in the AFC South. That's where I landed last night. The Colts might not have the best players in the AFC South. I think at this point I think I would pick Ryan Tannehill and I would pick Derrick Henry. But the Titans defense is horrible. Horrible is that Titans defense. And they showed it again last night, and that puts a lot of pressure on Ryan Tannehill. And also I'm cool with also Dustin Johnson made that putt 10 under, 3 under through 4 today. He's now 3 shots clear of Cam Smith. Dylan Fratelli got 1 back at the par 4 third. He's now 6 under. But, I get sidetracked. And Brooks Koepka rolling it well as well. He's now 3 under total. But I get sidetracked. I apologize. But I refuse to bet on a team that is going to not play defense, especially when you have a quarterback like Tannehill. And I know that this Titans offense is good in terms of defensive DVOA. In terms of defensive DVOA, I mean, the Titans are not close. Bottom third of the league. Offensive DVOA now. Offensive DVOA, they're third. And the Colts are not close in offensive DVOA. But they have enough weapons there. And that defense is good enough that they can win that division. And they're probably the best team in that division. And it would be far and away clear if they didn't lose to the Jags in week 1. Right, they're tied for the division lead with a loss to the Jags in week 1 and a loss to the Browns. But they show up in big games. They've beat the Bears. Now they've beat the Titans. They've taken care of business everywhere else. They did lose to the Ravens. I think the Ravens are ultimately a better football team, though. But this defense is way good enough to take a lot of pressure off of Phillip Rivers in that offense. And yesterday it was balanced, man. Yesterday it was balanced. Phillip Rivers, 29-39, 308 yards and a touchdown. He got protected by the offensive line. They only had 1 sack in the game. Nyheim Hines, Jordan Wilkins, Michael Pittman Jr., Jonathan Taylor, and Jacoby Brissett combined for 133 yards rushing, a pair of touchdowns. Michael Pittman Jr. has been great. The rookie has been great out of USC. 7 receptions, 101 yards. The lone touchdown catch came courtesy of Nyheim Hines. He also the leading rusher in this game. They have enough weapons there. Rodrigo Blankenship, 2 field goals, 4 extra points. Responsible for 10 points in this game. Ryan Tannehill, 15 to 27, 147 yards, and 1 touchdown. There are times where I'm like, wow, Ryan Tannehill, he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. And then there are other times where I'm just so unimpressed by him. And a lot of times I'm unimpressed by him when he's playing a good defense. And that's not what I want from a quarterback that might have to lead me to a when I'm trying to have a quarterback lead me to a Super Bowl. His best games of the season have come against the Bengals. Excuse me, not the Bengals. The Texans, the Vikings, the Jaguars. Just not great football teams, but against good football teams, good defenses, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 18 to 30, 220 yards. The Colts, 15 to 27, 147 yards, 1 touchdown. Give me 1 second here. To respond to a text message. Sorry about that. But I'm still not sold in his ability to bring this football team from behind. Because whether you like it or not, the best player, or the best and most important player on this offense is Derrick Henry. 19 rushes, 103 yards. He set up multiple touchdowns in this game, but different guys just got. Deontay Foreman caught a touchdown pass, and Jonnu Smith got a 1-yard carry for a touchdown. But when this team falls from behind, Ryan Tannehill is closer to a game. He's not quite a game manager, but he's closer to game manager than he is to game changer. I feel very strongly about that. And when you have a defense that is going to let you fall behind, at some point in the game, probably, like, you're going to have to score more points than 17 points. 17 points is not going to get it done most days when you're the Tennessee Titans offense. They've given up 30 points to the Jags, 30 points to the Vikings, 16 points to the Bills, 36 to the Texans, 27 to the Steelers, 31 to the Bengals, 17 to the Bears, which is like giving up 30 to any other football team, and then 34 to the Colts. 17 points. If they scored 17 points in every game, they'd be 1-0, 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5. It would have gone to overtime against the Bears, so we'll say 2-5-1. And then they'd be 2-6-1 with 17 points. The Colts, on the other hand, 17 points. If they score 17 points, they're 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 500 football, and that's saying that about a team that has scored 28 points, 36 points, 23 points, 31 points, 41 points, 34 points. They certainly have their holes. which is why this is close, because the Colts have one of the best defenses in the NFL. The Titans have one of the best offenses in the NFL. The Colts offense definitely has some things that leave to be desired. But at the same time, I'll take the team that has a few things to be desired on the defensive end, then a lot to be desired on the offensive end, then a lot to be desired on the defensive end. At least if you're asking me to pick a team that I am betting on to win the Super Bowl in the AFC South. It looks like whoever wins that game in 2 weeks is going to be the winner of this division. I mean, after that Titans game, that second Titans game, the Colts play the Texans, Raiders, Texans, Steelers, Jags. You should beat the Texans. You should beat the Raiders. You should beat the Texans again. You lose to the Steelers in Pittsburgh probably, and then you should beat the Jags at home. So that's, assuming they lose, let's just say they lose to the Packers, so that's 6-4. And we'll leave the Titans game out of that, but you should go 4-1 in those last 5 games. The Titans, on the other hand, they go at Baltimore. So 2 really tough games for both of these teams, at Baltimore and at home against the Packers. Then after that Colts game, they go Browns, Jags, Lions, Packers, Texans. You should probably lose to the Packers there. But other than that, you should win those games. So we could be looking at a situation where that game in 2 weeks ultimately decides who wins this division. They're 2 good football teams. But right now, based on what I saw yesterday, and based on just what I believe about good football teams, where it stands right now, I think that the Colts are the better football team in the AFC South right now. But it's going to be a tight race. It's one of the tighter races, but because they've got 2 other teams in that conference that are just in that division. I've been in college basketball writing mode, so conference. The word conference is at the top of my mind. But in terms of tight races, I mean, you got 2 teams that might as well not even be there in the Jaguars and the Texans. And then you got 2 good football teams at the top, tied into 6-3. The Bills separating themselves in the AFC East. Pittsburgh separating themselves in the AFC North, and that's just a tough conference. Division. Even at the bottom with the Bengals and Joe Burrow. The Chiefs separating themselves in the AFC West. Philly separating themselves at 3-4 in the NFC East. Green Bay doing the same in the NFC North. The Saints right now look like the best football team in the NFC South, and the Seahawks, I still have doubts about the Cardinals and the Rams, even though both are just a game back of Seattle at the moment. The AFC South is probably going to come down to the tightest division race. And when you have 2 teams at the bottom of the division that both of those teams should just dominate and control, it makes it even more intriguing, because and those head-to-heads even more important, because the likelihood of the Colts or the Titans losing to the Texans or the Jags is just not very high. But I was impressed by the Colts last night, and I was impressed by their ability to bounce back, because after that first drive, the Titans just waltzed down the field and scored a touchdown. Just walked right down the field. 6 plays, 67 yards, 3 minutes and 10 seconds, touchdown. Then they got it under control. The next, several Titans possessions, 3 plays, -1 yards. 8 plays, 43 yards and a field goal. Then the Titans got another touchdown. But then they didn't score in the third quarter, in the second half. Punt. Blocked punt touchdown. You got a special teams touchdown for the Colts. Missed field goal. Turnover on downs. End of game. They put on a clinic in the second half, both defense and special teams. And right now, I'll take the Colts in that division. We'll see if that changes, but right now, I'll take the Colts. Coming up next, we'll do the podium, check out the schedule for this weekend a little bit, and do some FYI. We'll do all of those things next. You're watching the JMULL Show on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Twitch.tv/110sports, 110sportsmedia.com/live. muted. My mic was muted. Welcome back to the JMULL Show on a Friday. Twitch.tv/110sports, 110sportsmedia.com/live. The amateur, John Augustine. Come on, baby, let's do it. He's 6 under on the day. I love seeing amateurs play well, and it's really it's part of this really impressive youth movement in the PGA Tour. Now, I mean, of course, me standing here and saying that Augustine is part of the youth movement on the PGA Tour right now would be silly. But we've completely changed the idea on the PGA Tour that you have to be old and experienced to win. That was part of why Tiger was so awesome so early, because he won at an age that very few people win in general, but certainly at that age. I mean, Tiger was 21. December 30th, 1975 is Tiger Woods' birthday. Wins the Masters in 97. You do the math there. Hasn't turned 22 yet. That's part of why what Tiger did was so awesome. And that's certainly a part of the reason why so many young guys win nowadays. But Collin Morikawa won his second major. That never used to happen. Collin Morikawa wins his second major. At the top of this leaderboard, Cameron Smith, young guy. John Augustine, now tied for 5th at the Masters as an amateur. Xander Schauffele has been just so pure since the minute he got on tour. JT, Jordan Spieth. Cameron Champ is already a winner. John Rahm, one of the best players in the world, second in the world right now. DeChambeau. Those guys aren't quite as young anymore. But Collin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler, you name it. Matthew Wolff, who has finished 4th and 2nd in his first 2 majors. Ogletree got it back under control. Everybody, age and experience is not a requirement to win anymore. And not only is that just true, the young guys without experience believe that. They come out on tour to win now, not to go to the web.com and compete a couple times and get your tour card and then just play well for a couple years, and then you're 25 and then you get over the hump and then you win, once every year, once every other year. You end your PGA Tour career with 7 wins over 20 years, and then you call it quits. And that's a great PGA Tour career. I sounded like I was crapping on that kind of career. That's a great career if you win 7 times on the PGA Tour. But that's not the expectation anymore. And it's not just, I'm going to go win the opposite field event along with the Masters. I mean, one of the first tournaments that Jordan Spieth competed and contended in was the Puerto Rico Open the same week as the Masters the year before he competed at the Masters. So in the summer of 2013, he had the Puerto Rico Open. He wins the John Deere, gets to play in the Masters the following year, right? In 2014, that's when Bubba wins, but Jordan Spieth was in the final group. He wins in 2015, blows up in 2016. You guys know the story. But those opposite field events, it's not just competing at opposite field events, right? It's Collin Morikawa draining 25-foot birdie putts after JT knocks 57-foot birdie putts at Jack's course, at the Memorial, at Muirfield Village. It's Collin hitting butter fades from 287 to 6 feet for eagle on the 70th hole of a major to win the PGA at TPC Harding Park. It's Matthew Wolff in his 3rd start or whatever, sticking a 5-iron from 220 yards to 20 feet at the 3M Open in Minnesota and draining an eagle putt to beat Bryson DeChambeau by 1. It's Victor Hovland, who I don't even know where he is on this leaderboard. I guess he's not. I feel like he would have qualified for this tournament. I don't see his name on their leaderboard. I guess and maybe I missed something, but it's just not a thing anymore. Having to have experience is not a thing anymore. Now, on this golf course in particular, it helps to have experience. That's not what I'm saying, but in general, young guys win on the PGA Tour, and they win a lot, and they're scary, and it's part of why the PGA Tour is so competitive right now. Sorry to go on a little tangent there. Let's take a look at what we're looking at in the schedule side of things for the football, for college football and the NFL this weekend. Cincinnati takes on East Carolina. East Carolina's 1-5. That will be a stomping. Miami goes to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech just lost to Liberty. Indiana. So we're getting closer and closer. We're now 2 weeks out. November 21st. We're 2 weeks out from, I guess, closer to 1 week out. But Indiana needs to win one more game at Michigan State before we get presumably an undefeated Hoosiers versus an undefeated Ohio State team in a week's time, 8 days from now. And the winner, if that's going to win that side of the Big Ten. That's a big football game. It's at Ohio State. I don't expect Indiana to win that game, but they've got one more test this weekend, tomorrow at 11 Central, to beat a solid football team in Michigan. Solid is a stretch. To beat a Michigan team that has proven they can beat real football teams. They go and beat Michigan at Michigan. It's cool to see. We got Marshall in the top 25. We got Liberty in the top 25. Louisiana Lafayette in the top 25. Notre Dame at Boston College on Saturday. Florida welcomes Arkansas. Wisconsin at Michigan. Alabama LSU has been postponed. Ohio State Maryland's been canceled. Texas A&M and Tennessee has been postponed. So is Georgia and Missouri. So is Auburn and Mississippi State. It's like they don't happen in bulk like this if you're following the rules. They just don't. Which is tough. It really is. But there's not a lot of high level football games this week, and as a result, let's look at the NFL briefly here. Week 10, we talked about the Colts. Some of the bigger games this week in terms of the Eagles have a chance to completely separate themselves from the pack in the NFC East with a win at New York at the Giants on Sunday. The Bucs head to Carolina team, Teddy Bridgewater, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, the Panthers gave the Chiefs a run for their money last week. I believe that was last week. Gave the Chiefs a run for their money. Ended up losing the game, but 33-31, man, that's a football team with weapons. And clearly there, as we saw on Sunday, there are times where the Bucs offense just doesn't show up, and the Bucs offense not showing up is what I would consider an understatement. But you get Seattle at Los Angeles. That's a big one. The Los Angeles, the Rams, if they win that game, tie for the lead in that division. Bengals, Steelers. Not too many great football games this week. Not too many that have major division implications. We talked about that Philly New York game. One of the bigger ones, that 3:25 Fox game between Seattle and Los Angeles. Should be a solid week in football, but of course, looking at it right now still, this weekend's all about the Masters. Right now, Dustin Johnson bogeys number 14 at Augusta. I don't know what happened on his second shot because I believe he hit a nice tee shot. We'll see. Let's take a look here, see what happened with his second shot. 137 yards to the pin. and looks like he just mouthed, "Oh, I pulled it." Yeah, that's what happened. He left himself 30 feet, and it was a putt right on a bank. He blew it. He hit it too hard. Ends up 3-putting actually, and but he's still 9 under lead. Sung J M is now pulled within 1, and that's the closest guy that's actually on the golf course. Paul Casey teeing off in about 2 hours from now. For your information, and this is awesome. This really is awesome. The Miami Marlins have hired a woman as their general manager, Kim Ng. Now the Miami Marlins general manager. She's got 30 plus years of experience in Major League Baseball. She spent 6 years with the White Sox in the early 90s. Spent 3 years with the Yankees, 9 years with the Dodgers, and then was in the commissioner's office for 9 years. 8 postseason appearances, 6 league championship series, 3 World Series. She's the real deal, and she is it. Just to get out in front of this, some of these responses are just so ridiculous, but this is awesome. She is way more than qualified for this job, and that's awesome that she's getting the opportunity to do so. So shouts to Miami Marlins and their new general manager. Dustin Johnson, 235 on number 15. He's short. Looks like it rolled back into the water yep, there it goes, back into the water. So he'll be trying to get up and down for a par on the 15th hole. Listen, that's what we talk about here. We talk about trying to take advantage of those par 5s. You bogey a tough 3-putt on 14, but you get it back on 15 with a birdie, and that's Dustin Johnson into the water. He'll need to try and get up and down from there to hold on to his 1-shot lead. Of course, the most important thing there is not spinning a wedge back into the water, and really compounding the mistake. Russell Westbrook, we didn't talk a whole lot about this. For your information, people want Russell Westbrook, and the consensus on Twitter, not the consensus, but the thought that I've seen from a lot of people on Twitter is that Russell Westbrook is not washed. And from a stats perspective, the answer to that question is yes. But when has... they talk about Charlotte being interested in Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook might help you get the 8th seed in the East, but that is it. And I'm not sure why Charlotte would be interested in paying a dude a lot of money to take them out of the lottery for 3 years. That's all that he would do. Last year, he averaged, in 57 games, he averaged 27 points, 7 assists, 7.9 rebounds. Like this is... Calling him washed is silly. But at the same time, he doesn't impact winning in a real way. He doesn't. Not real winning. And I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot totem pole. I'm sure we'll get more about that over the weekend. Early next week, we'll see trades open up. We have the draft next week. We'll talk about that. I just finished my NBA draft guide, 16,000 plus words on the 2020 NBA draft. If you wouldn't mind checking that out, I'd greatly appreciate it. Tweeted about it at the JMULL _ right there below your screen, right there. And it's also on the website at 110sportsmedia.com. Of course, I'll be back on Monday. Make sure you're watching out for Touchline Talk with Josh Doring and Around the Bases with Chris Brown next Tuesday. But I'll be back before either of them have another show. I'll be back on Monday. Same place, same time. Please enjoy your weekend. Watch the Masters. And we'll meet back here to talk about that and whatever else happened over the weekend on Monday. Stay safe. I'll meet you right back here at 11 a.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/110sports or 110sportsmedia.com/live.